Everybody, welcome to your Yamas and Niyamas flow today. I am filming at a park near Kent State University, and we are going to go over the Yama Brahmacharya today, which directly translates to chastity, but we all know what chastity is. I kind of want to focus on some other interpretations of this, such as self-regulation, proper application of energy, and self-control, which are, I think it's going to fit best in a slow burn flow. So it's still going to be a power flow, but we're going to approach each pose in a slower way, holding it for longer. And Brahmacharya just reminds us to enter each day with a sense of action, of holiness rather than indulgence. And I think a slow burn flow is great because we can practice exerting the proper amount of energy. So if we're exerting too much energy and we're overexerting ourselves, over-consuming excess, we're going to burn ourselves out. It's not healthy. But if we are able to find that happy medium of giving our all but not over-giving, of consuming but not over-consuming, of expending energy but not over-expending energy, we can find that happy medium embodied in these poses. So remember, we are going to be moving, but we're not going to be moving into the place of access. So finding that place of enough without finding that place of access. So keeping in mind as we flow today, can we discern between what we need in the moment versus what the story our mind is teaching us? So let's get started. Let's roll out our mats and let's get ready to go. Hi everybody, welcome to your mat. Let's get started in a child's pose today, bringing our toes to touch, our knees out wide, and bringing our forehead down to the mat. Remembering that our Yama today is the Yama of self-discipline and self-restraint. Finding our edge, but releasing our need of access. Finding the balance in life. Treating everything as if it's holy and not over-consuming or over-exerting ourselves. Allowing this practice to open the door for where you are over-consuming or over-exerting in your life. Finding the edge of enough without pushing into access. Seeing how this teaching can help you today find your edge in a pose without overexerting yourself. We'll be doing a slow flow pose where we will be holding poses for extended amounts of time. This is a power flow, but it is a slow burn power flow. Let's lift into our tabletop position, tucking our toes and shifting our hips back right away into our downward facing dog. Pedaling out our feet here. I hope you guys can hear the sound of the water around me. In down dog, I see water on all sides of my mat. It's such a beautiful experience. Finding stillness in our downward facing dog, connecting to our breath. Finding that edge of enough. But before pushing into access, let's bend our knees. Stepping our left followed by our right to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bending our knees, inhale, hands overhead, finding a small bend in the spine. Exhale, dive down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back to plank. One inhale, set up your plank. If you are not doing a traditional chaturanga today and you would like to find a modification, you can bring your knees to the mat Bending your elbows at a 90-degree angle, coming into upward facing dog, tucking the toes, shifting back to downward facing dog. That is your modification, but the remainder of the class, I will be doing full chaturangas. Finding stillness in your downward facing dog. One inhale. On the exhale, bend the knees, stepping the left foot, followed by the right to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, bending the knees. Inhale, hands overhead. Small back bend in the back. Small bend in the spine. Exhale, dive down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, step back to plank. One inhale, set up your plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Finding once again stillness in this pose. Allowing the heat to build in our body. Finding our edge. On your exhale, bend the knees, step the left foot, followed by the right to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, bend the knees, bringing our hands overhead. Small bend in the back. Exhale, forward fold. Letting our hands run long, bringing opposite wrist to opposite elbow. Finding stillness or motion here. If this is too much on your lower back, you can have a small bend in the knees to remove some pressure. Letting our hands run long. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, step back to plank. One inhale, set up your plank. Building your fire here. Finding your edge in this plank. If motion helps you, you may add in some motion here. Remembering this is a slow burn class. Finding our edge of enough without pushing ourselves too far. Letting our heels fall out to the right. Inhaling our left hand overhead for a side plank. Connecting to our breath in this pose. Bringing our left hand down, letting our hips fall out to the left. Inhale our right hand overhead. Bringing both hands down to the mat. One inhale, set up our plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Sometimes the slow burn classes leave me the most sore and give me one of the best workouts. And I think sometimes in power classes we over consume and find that point of access. We don't have the self-regulation to slow down, and we don't work our muscles as good in the long run as we're rushing the poses. One more inhale here, and the exhale, bend the knees. Step the left leg to the top of the mat, right leg, top of the mat. Inhaling our hands overhead, pulling our inner thighs together to find that strength, connecting to your breath here. Let's find that point of balance in this pose of enough, but finding the self-restraint to not go into too much. Gaze at the top of your mat or gently in front of it. Letting your breath flow here, building that heat. One more inhale together. Exhale, hands frame the foot. Stepping the right foot back to bring the left foot forward. Inhaling our hands overhead. Bringing our inner thighs in to find that strength. 10 breaths here. On the inhale, reaching through the crown of the head, and on the exhale, grounding into the mat. One more inhale here. On the exhale, hands frame the foot. Grounding our right foot into the mat this time. Cartwheeling our hands up overhead. Straightening that left knee. Reverse the warrior. Take a rep pose just to sink into that warrior two here. Grounding both feet into the mat, making sure the knee is out to over the left pinky toe. Gaze over our left fingertips. We'll be here for 5 breaths, but we really only have like 3 more. 1. On the inhale, straightening that left knee, reversing the warrior. Exhale, bringing our left palm to that left shin. Right hand comes up overhead. Connecting to our breath, finding the extension from the hip up through our shoulder. Bending through that left knee. Bringing both toes to the right side of our mat. Inhaling overhead. Exhale, forward fold for wide-legged forward fold. So heeling the feet out to an appropriate distance, bringing our palms down to the mat, keeping our gaze at our fingertips or gently below us. I'm looking at this plant here and it looks like mint, so I think there's a good chance that somehow there's like wild mint growing, but it's also giving me like not a mint vibe and a little bit of a poison ivy vibe, but I don't think I get poison ivy, so hopefully I'll be okay. Finding stillness in this pose. Toe heeling our feet back together. Walking our hands out to frame the right foot this time. Meeting in a low runner's lunge. Set it up. Inhale, hands overhead for that crescent warrior. Exhale, hands to heart center, grounding through the left foot. Gaze out over our right fingertips for warrior two. Meeting here for 5 breaths, finding our edge once again on this side. This is a non-traditional flow, guys. Hard to find my balance because everything around me is moving water. I'm using these rocks to stare at on the other side of the creek or river. I'm not sure what this is. On the inhale, reverse, straightening that knee. Exhale, right palm to right shin, left hand overhead. Finding stillness once again here. Finding our edge today without going too far. practicing balance. Meeting back in our warrior two pose, bringing our hands to heart center and bringing our toes at a just slightly more inward angle. Walking our hands down, rocking onto that left heel, finding our breath here. Some of you may be able to bring the hip down to the heel. Some of you may be where I am because I did my glute workout yesterday, so I'm a little tight. Connecting to your breath here. Walking our hands back through center. Same thing on the left side for a count of 5 breaths here. Hands frame the foot, meeting in a low runner's lunge, stepping back to plank. One inhale, set up your plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Finding that stillness once again in downward facing dog. Again, this yoga flow may not be the most glamorous or fast-paced pose. It may make you have to sit with yourself a little bit more in those long holds and pauses, but finding the self-restraint to not create more movement here, but meet yourself in the stillness and develop the self-discipline to not come out of the poses early. This is a very mindful practice and it's not easy. This is not the most invigorating, exciting flow. This is a flow to build self-restraint, self-control, to stay here. Grounding through the left foot, inhale the right foot up. Exhale, bring it through. Inhale the hands up and overhead. Exhale, bring it forward, lifting into our warrior three, either airplane or hands at heart center. Letting our breath flow here. Sometimes I forget and hold my breath in these poses, so don't do that. On the inhale, left knee rises. Hands overhead. I can't look at the camera too much because everywhere around me is moving water, so I have to really keep my drishti focused on the rocks that aren't moving. Bringing our left hand to the outside of that left knee, opening it up, sliding our wrist down to that ankle, bringing the inside of our foot, pressing it into the right inner thigh, pressing the sole into the inner thigh to find the power and balance here. If this is too much, you can kickstand your foot lower, keeping it off of the knee joint. Meeting both feet down on the mat, letting our hands run down to our hands overhead. Exhale, dive down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, step back to plank. Thank you guys for staying with me today on this challenging flow. Chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Finding stillness once again here. Grounding in the left foot. Lifting the right foot up. Exhale, stepping it through. Inhale, our hands overhead. Exhale, bringing it forward. Take off into your warrior three, either an airplane or our hands at heart center. Letting our breath flow here. Keeping that self-restraint of not coming out early. Bringing our knee up. This is really scary in this pose for me because the water is like moving so much. So I have to really find my balance here. Bringing our right hand to the outside of that right knee, opening our knee, bringing the hand down to the left ankle, pressing our right sole of the foot into that left inner thigh, meeting for our tree pose. Again, if you need the modification, the sole can be down kickstanded here, but away from pressing on that ankle or hip joint. Releasing and grounding both feet onto the mat. Not gonna lie, that is the scariest I've ever been in a tree pose before, as the water is just like rapidly going to my left. Inhale, hands overhead. Exhale, dive down, step back to plank. One inhale, set up your plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Grounding through the left sole. Inhaling our right leg up, right knee to right elbow, bringing the shin across, melting into our pigeon pose. Thank you guys for having the self-discipline and the self-restraint to not move quickly and add multiple poses into this flow, but have the awareness to stay longer and enjoy those poses that were offered to you today. This is a very mentally difficult flow as we were really holding poses for quite some time, so I really appreciate it. We will go back to normal flows in the next couple upcoming videos, and we'll also do some yin practices with some of the Yamas and Niyamas too. Letting everything go, all the thoughts that enter our mind. Don't attach a story, but just let them enter and then flow through. Bringing awareness now to where your body is meeting the mat, to where in your body you're sending your breath, and to what's going on around you. Maybe the birds are chirping. Maybe you can hear the water rumbling by in my video. Maybe there's sounds in your own surrounding. Allowing yourself the pleasure of enjoying the simple things. Romanticizing each little moment. Walking our hands up here, tucking our left toe, lifting back into our downward facing dog. Rolling out that right knee, bringing our knee down to the mat, grounding through the right foot, peeling our left foot off, left heel to sky, left knee to left elbow, send it across, letting our right leg run long, meeting in our pigeon on this side. I'll leave you the space and silence on this side and here on out in the flow. Walking our hands up, meeting on that left hip, bringing our right leg around. Letting our back run down one vertebrae at a time. Bringing our knees into center, letting them fall out to the left, extending our right hands out. Gaze at our right fingertips for supine twist. Bringing our knees back to center, letting them fall out to the right this time. Gaze out over our left fingertips. Letting our legs run long. Meeting in our final resting pose of Shavasana. Letting our breath go. If you want to pause the video and stay here longer, I welcome you to do so. If you're ready to come out of Shavasana, gently rolling to your left or right side. Lifting up into our seated meditation pose. Inhaling our hands overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me today. I am super grateful that you practice the self-control and the self-restraint to not flow so much through adding a million poses. And maybe we didn't get all of your favorite poses in today, but practicing that self-restraint, finding stillness, and pushing ourselves to hold simple poses for longer. If you want a more traditional flow in the Yamas and Niyamas, we will for sure get back to that in the next video, but I want to switch it up. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this flow by the water. I think I might be by part of the Cuyahoga River, but I really don't know. I'm going to try to find information on where exactly I am. I just moved to this area recently, so I may not be by the Cuyahoga River, but I might be. So we'll see. Have a wonderful day. Thank you guys.